Hi guys, in today's video I'm going to show you the top 5 best budget gaming CPU of 2023. Through extensive research and testing, I have put together a list of options that will meet the needs of different types of buyers. For more information, I have included links in the description box down below. Now number 5 on the list is Intel Core i5-13600K. The Intel Core i5-13600K is another mighty mid-range chip from Intel, and you can expect a major uplift in core counts even with this more parsimoniously priced Raptor Lake chip. Well tuned to deliver high gaming frame rates, this is ultimately the chip most gamers should consider first for their next gaming PC. The Core i5-13600K is a 14-core processor, made up of 6 hyper-threaded performance cores, P cores, and 8 efficient cores, E cores, for a total of 20 threads. That's 4 more E cores than this chip's predecessor. The Core i5-12600K opens in new tab, but don't be fooled by the E core's diminutive name and silicon footprint. Those 4 extra cores make for a significant increase in multi-threaded performance. The Core i5-13600K's single-threaded Cinebench score? Exactly the same as a Core i9-12900K. Alright, real-life performance won't see the Core i5-13600K matching the Core i9-12900K in every regard, but it really does deliver something similar in gaming for a lot less money. In 3 out of 6 games I've tested, the Core i5-13600K matches the pace of the Core i9-12900K. We're once again seeing the best gaming chip come from the lower rungs of the stack with Raptor Lake. The Core i5-13600K delivers exceptional gaming performance in a sensibly priced package, delivering only a handful of frames less than the processors that fetch double the asking price. For a gaming PC build in 2022-23, this is absolutely the chip I'd recommend to most. But I'd go one further than that. The inclusion of 4 more E cores turns this processor into a 14-core chip with a multi-threaded performance to deliver in high-demand applications, and that makes it a great fit for streaming, content creation, editing, and more. The Core i5-13600K is much more of an all-round powerhouse than I had expected it to be. Now number 4 on the list is Intel Core i5-13400F. For a gaming PC, there's no better value CPU than a Core i5. For most of 2022, we recommended the Core i5-12600K for the best gaming CPU, opens in new tab, and the Core i5-12400 as the best gaming CPU on a budget. Last year, the Core i5-13600K opens in new tab, took over the top spot. And today, the Core i5-13400F pushes Alder Lake out of the running with an even more impressive specification for the money. The Intel Core i5-13400F is a processor I've been waiting patiently to test since I first heard wind of it last year. You'll understand why once you read these specs. A 10-core processor made up of 6 performance cores, P cores, and 4 efficient cores, E cores. The Core i5-13400F has a total of 16 threads. Its fastest cores will run up to 4.6 GHz out of the box, a clock speed that wouldn't have seemed out of place on the box of a Core i7 only a few years back. For that impressive spec, the Core i5 has been given an Intel recommended price tag of $196. Consider the other options. That's a handful of dollars more than the Core i5-12400, opens in new tab, from last year, or $33 cheaper than AMD's Ryzen 5 7600. All of which means, as someone who has been happily running an Intel Core i7-6700K over the past 6 or 7 years, and which now resides in a PC I built for my partner, this is the first time I've considered upgrading my old 6700K for something newer. The Core i5-13400F is only a handful of frames shy of the Core i9-13900K in Total War, 3 Kingdoms, Metro Exodus, and F1 2021. In our testing, neither the Core i5-13400F or Ryzen 5 7600X can claim an outright win across the testing suite, though when AMD's chip is faster, it is quite a bit faster. Intel's platform is surprisingly cheap for the inclusion of both the latest 700 series motherboards and older 600 series motherboards. Similarly, we're saving a little cash here on the F-designated model. The F denotes the Core i5-13400F's lack of integrated graphics, which isn't a deal-breaker by any stretch of the imagination. While the Core i5-13600K remains the pick for the best gaming CPU, and AMD is very competitive in the $275 market, Intel's Core i5-13400F is a shoo-in for the best budget gaming CPU in 2023. Now number 3 on the list is Intel Core i9-13900K. Intel's Core i9-13900K is spectacularly good at what it does, and what it does is pretty much everything. Gaming? Of course, it can push high frame rates alongside the latest GPUs. Multitasking? Yep, easy. With 24 cores, it's perfectly suited to lots of stuff happening all at once. High-demand creative workloads? Absolutely, it barely breaks a sweat. Intel's hybrid architecture has really come into its own with the Core i9-13900K. The Core i9-13900K actually makes XHEDT chips look slow by comparison. When it comes to gaming performance, the Core i9-13900K is equally impressive. This chip does little to hold back a modern high-end GPU, such as the RTX 3080 we're testing with, and I have no doubts it'll make the best pairing with NVIDIA's new RTX 4090, too. Now for some PC builders, that's an easy buy. You want the fastest chip around, here it is. But I would suggest that most PC gamers with a moderate budget will want to look at the Intel Core i5-13600K, opens in new tab, instead. But to say the Core i9-13900K is too expensive would be wrong. It's actually, surprisingly priced roughly the same as a Core i9-12900K, despite being much faster, offering 8 more cores, and arriving on a now cheaper platform. I'm not going to belabor the point. This is a mighty processor at a surprisingly reasonable price, and a lot of builders will want one simply because it's the best of the best. We're not at a loss for incredible processors right now, and Intel's Core i9-13900K is top among them. Now number 2 on the list is AMD Ryzen 7 7700. As an on-paper proposition, there's a heck of a lot to like about the new AMD Ryzen 7 7700. For starters, it's an 8-core, 16-thread chip which is plenty for gaming and almost anything else short of pro-level content creation. More to the point, like its AMD Ryzen 7 7700X, opens in new tab, sibling. This is a single die, 8-core chip with none of the performance compromises that come with AMD's pricier 12 and 16-core CPUs and their dual die configurations, as minor as those compromises are in most cases. It's also significantly cheaper, ostensibly much more efficient and barely any slower than the existing Ryzen 7 7700X. Where the Ryzen 7 7700X rocks a 4.5 GHz base clock and 5.4 GHz boost clock, the new non-X 7700 is rated at 3.8 GHz and 5.3 GHz respectively. If that base clock number looks like a big step down, it's worth remembering that these chips rarely run at those lower figures when under load. We had no problems overclocking it to 5.3 GHz all-core with the bundled AMD Wraith cooler. As for power consumption, the new non-X chip is rated at 65W, where the full-fat X model has a 105W TDP. If that's expectations set for this new chip, then, spoiler alert, the new 65W Ryzen 7700 non-X very much delivers on them. Across our suite of benchmarks, this new low-power 65W CPU runs its 105W sibling awfully close. It's not faster for gaming, of course, but it's close enough that your choice of graphics driver version is almost certainly more important than whether you have a Ryzen 7 7700 or 7700X installed. The gap is that small. Either way, of course, you're getting a great gaming chip. In fact, if you're restricting the comparison to AMD options, it's an absolute no-brainer to go with this non-X model. On a pure CPU basis, then, you'd take the Intel option. Look at the broader platform issues, and it's a little more complicated. AMD's current desktop platform has better support for PCIe 5.0 peripherals and is therefore arguably a better long-term prospect. A lot then will come down to your personal needs and also issues like motherboard pricing. This new AMD CPU is a great gaming chip, for sure. Actually, in game, you'd never feel the difference compared with the slightly faster Intel option. It's that close. But as an all-round CPU, that tricksy Intel hybrid architecture still has the edge. Now the last product on the list is AMD Ryzen 7 5800X3D at launch. The AMD Ryzen 7 5800X3D was the fastest gaming processor the Red Team had ever made. It's not so much anymore, but it remains the best bet for gaming performance if you're stuck with an AM4 motherboard. AMD's chip was and still is a technically impressive beast, using the latest packaging processes from TSMC to bung an inordinate amount of cash into its new CPU. The Ryzen 7 5800X3D is architecturally identical to the standard Ryzen 7 5800X, opens in new tab, using the same Zen 3 processor design, and therefore the same chiplet setup that has made AMD's recent generations of CPU such world beaters. That means you're getting the same 8-core, 16-thread layout in a single chiplet, so no potential inter-chiplet latency issues, but a slightly slower clock speed because of unnecessarily lower voltage. In general, the Ryzen 7 5800X3D either essentially matches or outperforms the Ryzen 9 5950X. That's a great result considering the top Ryzen is still an expensive CPU, and more than ever just a productivity chip and little else. It's a technically elegant, efficient CPU that delivers on its promises. It can't quite beat Intel's hulking brute of a Core i9-12900KS in the frame rate war, but it still offers the majority of AMD users an easy upgrade path to gaming performance that is not far off. And for a fraction of the price and power demands, too. I hope you liked the video. See you guys next time.